hot outside today. Yeah. Even in Canada, it gets really hot up here. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Differently Wired Show, episode 27, Talking With versus Talking At Someone. Good to be with you all again. My name is Max Danger Derrat, your friendly neighborhood Simpsons kin. Good to be with you all. I just said that. I said it twice. Oh my God. It's already.
Must be
Listen.
doubly.
What's that? It's doubly
Must be
true.
doubly true.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's been a long week. I've been so busy with stuff. See, actually, you know what? I'll explain in just a second. I want to introduce my co-host. He is PhD. He is I don't know, legendary polygamist. He is John Tucker. John, how's it going?
You're telling all my secrets. It's going really well
You want
in
that
all my
sort of,
life.
you want that sort of thing to be a secret? I thought that'd be the sort of thing you put on a resume.
Yeah, actually, that's right.
Well, just make sure it's appropriate to whatever field you're going into. Listen, mental health. It's good to be with you guys again. Seriously. First of all, I just want to explain. You know how I think it was like a week. It might have been 2 weeks ago that I said, "Hey, I'm doing a Q&A for my channel now that I hit 50,000 subscribers." By the way, that is still happening. I just haven't had the time to do it. But now I do, because thankfully I released my newest video actually exactly 3 hours ago. Go and check it out if you haven't already. It has to do with psychology and some really damn good music. It's the first video that you'll see on my channel if you go and look at my archive. Leading up until today, I've been extremely tired, extremely exhausted, just trying to stay on top of things. But it's okay. I'm finally getting a reprieve. Tomorrow will be a better day, and I'll get to work on that Q&A video for you all. I felt like there was something else that I wanted to say, but I can't remember. Doesn't matter. Usual stuff. Facebook page. There's a link to it in the description box below. I know you haven't liked it. Yeah, you. I'm looking at you. I don't know what your name is, but I'm talking to you. Go like it. Discord server. We're at 485 members, guys. We're almost at the big 500. So if you haven't joined the server yet, why not? It's a great place to be. Everybody seems to love it there. We've had very few problems, which is surprising because when you think that you'd have a community of that many people, that you'd hope optimistically that 90% of the time things would be okay. But literally with our server, it has been 99.9% of the time things are great. People are very supportive. Everybody's very friendly, unless there are people that aren't telling me something. But I mean, I have moderators, and everybody seems to say that things are cool. So go join it if you haven't already. There's a link in the description box below. With that out of the way, main topic. So main topic. I can't talk. Talking with versus talking at somebody. John, you recommended this topic to me yesterday. When I was going through a list of potential topics. Normally, I like to sort of switch things up between things that I recommend and things that you recommend. So I just wanted to ask, what exactly is it about this topic that stood out to you and made you want to talk about it?
Well, we typically try to be a friendly place for differently wired people to come and, bring their issues, troubles, observations. So we're kind of, in a way, us against neurotypical world. And we often will say, okay, we're misunderstood, and it's true. And we're mishandled, and that's true. And we're mistreated, and that's true. However, the other day, I happened to use the phrase with a client, your ADHD hammer. Not an excuse, a hammer. He was using it to pound somebody into understanding him. And of course, it was the wrong tool, the wrong weapon.
Yeah.
And I began thinking about, oh, you must understand me. Please understand me. I have this thing and I can't do this. Ah, you're crazy. No, I'm not crazy. I'm this. I'm that. And so what often happens with differently wired folk is they explain and get fed up with it. They get frustrated because they're not understood. So I'm thinking maybe if we were talking with more than talking at, in other words, actually bringing up the listening part of the equation more, it would be helpful. And generally speaking, it is helpful in any environment for any kinds of brains if they have the ability to listen well. You'll see great leaders who listen very carefully to each person who talks to them. You'll see people who talk really well, but they don't listen well. They might be trying to sell you something, so they kind of drown out your thinking processes with a lot of chatter. This doesn't really work in relationships, especially if these relationships are potential love relationships or family relationships. What we need to hone is our ability to step back from getting our point across to hearing with empathy. So then we end up talking with, as opposed to trying to use our hammer and talking at. When you're trying to make your point, you must understand me. Please understand me. The more you say that, the worse it gets. So listening is a nicer kind of way to go at it. And that hence the talking with concept that occurred to me.
I wonder, if this is something that we should actually be talking about for this type of show. Maybe we should be having this sort of talk with most of the politicians across the world, because this is something like a strategy that they should certainly adopt. But first, let's start by sort of extrapolating the difference between the two a little bit, because you sort of alluded to it there with, I think you said you had a client that was using their ADHD as a hammer and trying to convince somebody to accept them. Can you sort of do you know what sort of language they were using or specific phrases so that we could sort of take apart what's wrong with them and sort of suggest a different approach?
Yeah, okay, let's pick that apart. It's like something like, no, I know I forgot this, but it's not really my fault because that's the way my brain works. I tend to forget things,
Mm.
but you don't love me because you forget these things. No, I do love you, but my brain is just, it's hard to shut down all the distractions and all the other things that are, making me crazy. So it was, what I was trying to do. So you go on and explain this, right?
Yeah.
And it's logical and it's true, but it isn't heard. It doesn't land because you're saying, my brain is kind of crowding out these little things that I should be doing for you, and they get missed. That's one example. And what the other person is hearing, but if you really love me, you'd fix that and
Mm.
you would get over that and stop, with this broken language. So they're not disposed to hear it when you pound away at it. So, okay, let's give it a different kind of scenario. Your your new girlfriend comes to you and says, you're forgetting stuff. And you say in a nonviolent communication kind of way, a la the late Marshall Rosenberg, oh, that must be a real bother for you. What can we do to make it so that I'm better at hearing you, listening to your concern, listening to your complaints, doing this stuff? I really want to do it. Let's figure out a strategy or something. But what you're doing there is you're honoring the complaint as opposed to defending yourself against the complaint.
Mm.
You're honoring force. So that's more like a with process. And you're developing, okay, let's work on this together process. Like good teachers with students, they don't just tell them what to do, they work with them on stuff and they listen and it goes back and forth.
Yeah, there's something really weird about human beings where if there's even the slightest tinge of over assertiveness, like it could be very slight. Like if you want to get your point across and you want to be firm about it, what that will do more often than not whenever you're talking to somebody is they'll go into a defensive mode and they'll be unwilling to relinquish any ground or consider anything that you're saying to be of any validity. So what you're saying is absolutely right. What we need to do is, unfortunately, the burden does fall on neuroatypicals more often than not. But
Yes.
if it's for the purposes of trying to let cooler heads prevail and establish firmer, stronger friendships and relationships, then I would certainly rather it be on our shoulders, if that makes any sense. So,
Well,
like, yeah,
what can be on your shoulders is your share of it. The other
yes,
person should try to be understanding too, but they'll be more inclined to if it's not an attack defend situation.
yeah, you have to
So,
sort of get across to them, like, look, I understand what you're saying. You know that I appreciate
yeah,
you. I appreciate, the the impact that you have on my life, and I want to make sure that continues. So let's take your problem.
Yeah,
I want to help you. Let me help you, and move forward from that.
yeah. It's a different kind of approach from, and of course, if you're differently wired, you may have spent a lifetime defending yourself against outrageous attacks. So you're used to this
Yeah.
attack, defend kind of language, very often to the extent that you actually avoid people because
Or
it's such a problem.
or like you're so used to it that you just don't do anything at all. You just
Yeah,
bear the
yeah.
brunt of whatever quote unquote abuse. Like it doesn't even have to be abuse, but you know what I mean, coming at
Well,
you.
as you talked about it, you said something about head, and that made me think when you're attacked, it's a different part of your brain that's responding because it's like old brains. It's like fight, flight, response type of thing. So if you sense danger, you go into retreat or attack, whatever mode. So all of a sudden, you're using emotion to do your work rather than
Logic.
the prefrontal cortex, the logic, right?
Yeah.
So what you're doing by listening is you're kind of calming, slowing down that defense response, and you're moving more into the logic, the thinking part of your brain. Not
Yeah.
entirely, but more. In other words, you're not triggering defense, attack, defense, and so on. So really, when somebody comes at you to complain, your natural initial response is to somehow respond to a complaint rather than to hear the force of what they're saying in an understanding and empathetic way because you're being attacked. So it is tricky. It's not easy to make that change for sure.
Yeah, you got to figure out what sort of things are in your control and other things that are not in your control. So one thing, one thing that I've learned a lot about doing YouTube, back in the day when I was just starting, I used to talk a lot of politics on my channel. I don't do that pretty much at all anymore. Um, and when I did talk about it in the past, if somebody says something quite flippant at me, and I still get that pretty much daily on my channel, but it's okay. Um, what I realize is that, look, if you're just going to be a jerk back to them, is that going to change anything? Is that going to make his day or his or her day better or my day better? Is it going to make the world a more positive place? No. What I can do if I'm really concerned about, hey, maybe they have something important that they had to say behind like maybe there's some sort of logic that they're clinging to that would make them want to react in such an aggressive way. So what I normally do whenever I see somebody leave a somewhat insulting comment, but there might be the chance that they have some sort of wisdom to offer, what I do
Mm.
is I respond to them and try to diffuse the situation and like, hey man, if there's something that you have to say that you really believe in, I want to hear from you. Maybe there's something that you know that I don't and that I can benefit from. And believe it or not, guys, like we all know, the YouTube comment sections throughout the entire website are a cesspool. But what I found when I respond to my dissenters is that if I respond in a calm and kind way, I'm actually surprised how many of them comment back and saying, wow, I didn't expect you to be this kind and respectful in responding back to me. Okay, let's have a dialogue. And that actually happens like 50 to 60% of the time. It's really good because like when you get stuff like that happening to you, it helps restore your faith in humanity, which can be quite difficult to maintain, especially with all the news that we're inundated with on a daily basis.
In the
So
early days of the internet, they used to call these things flame wars, where there'd be various, um, you know, um, internet email groups,
mm,
listservs, they call them. I don't know if the language is used anymore, but
Flame
people,
Wars is. Yeah.
yeah, okay. So people would say something nasty, then the other person would say, "Well, you're nasty." Well, you're nasty too. Well, actually, that goes nowhere. It has nothing to do with logic or understanding or empathy or anything. In order for the world to be a better place, people need to talk with each other and listen to each other. And so, I want to refer back to something you said earlier about politics and politicians. What we're saying doesn't apply to politics.
Yeah.
And it does not apply to politics because when a political person utters something, it's for an effect on an audience.
Yeah. And
It's not
yeah,
it's not to create understanding. It is not to make friendships. It's to impress somebody with your power, your one-upmanship. I mean, we had a world leader being accused of racism and being racist and not caring because he was actually making a point to his political base, which is racist. So great, he
mm,
doesn't care. They like him. So that's it. That's not about understanding or truth. It's not about relationships. It's about power. It's about marketing. And these are not what I'm really talking about when I say talk with is I'm talking about when you're speaking intimately with somebody who you want to be friends with or mates with or spouses with or whatever the case might be, or your close relationships, not relationships that are um, fixed up with politics or marketing, really.
yeah, you're 100% right. When I said that about politicians, I was sort of speaking semi facetiously because I'm sort of like,
Yeah.
oh, wouldn't it be nice if the world was like that? But no, you're right. It's a lot of politics is about theatrics and projecting strength instead of being about
Yeah.
honesty and policy. Um, there's a how does that one song by Marvin Gaye go? His most famous one. Not let's get that is what's going on. It's brother, brother, we don't need to escalate. War is not the answer. And it's a good song. It just for whatever reason, while we were talking about this, it popped into my head big time. Just the importance of like if you want to make the world a better place for yourself and for others, to make the world be a place where we're not constantly at each other's throats. You got to start with yourself. You got to start with your intimate relationships, and build from there. Hopefully that makes sense.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know what it is today. I keep feeling like there's something else that I wanted to say that I feel like I'm forgetting. It's weird. Anyways, listen, guys. Yeah, Magic Seahorses got it. What's going on? That's the name of it. Um, listen, guys. Thank you so much to everybody that's leaving the feedback in the comment section. Well, not the comment section, but the live chat. Apparently, everybody's saying that your audio sounds buttery smooth, John. So,
Just me, buttery smooth.
yes. So another person that's saying, James Earl Jones, cry your heart out. We got John Tucker here because your audio sounds. No, nobody said that, but I mean, they might as well. It's true. Uh, yeah, we figured out what the audio problems are for the most part, guys. We switched away from using Discord and we're using a program called Zoom. We tried to use it last week, but for whatever reason, there was echo on somebody's end. It might have been my end, it might have been John's end. I'm not sure, but we got it figured out right now. Everything sounds good. We do have to switch over to Discord for the Collins section, but regardless, the majority of the show should sound pretty good from now on. So, woohoo! With that out of the way, let's move on to the mailbag section, if I can bring the graphic up for that. So, mailbag. I know we've done this, 26 times before already, but, we always have new people coming in, and I got to explain this stuff to them. So, we have a mailbag section on the show every single week where I go into my email and I see what people have sent us if they have any questions in regards to mental health problems or autism. We read your emails, pick the good ones, put them on the show. Put them on the show. Throw out the bad ones. No, we don't get bad ones. But if you guys want to have your question on the show addressed by John or I, it's very, very simple. All you have to do is use the email that you see on screen right now, which is maxderrat@yahoo.ca. Maxderrat is all one word, and we'd love to hear from you. And it doesn't even have to be a question. It could be a personal story or a success story, like one that we're about to read. We'd love to hear from you guys, regardless of whatever it is. So, first email today comes to us from. Wait a minute. Wait, is that right? Why is it. Hold on a second, guys. Why isn't. That's really weird. Because I have Enigma Zero. Okay, we have a email from somebody named Enigma Zero, but for whatever
Love that
reason.
name.
Yeah, yeah, me too. It's weird. It's not showing up on my OBS. That's really weird. Huh. I don't know why that is. Anyways, we'll read it out loud. You guys just won't be able to see the text for whatever reason. Um, but first of all, Enigma, sorry, I don't know what's going on. We will read it. But for now, we're just going to have to start with Ryan's email. And then once we read that, then I'll go into my files and read your success story out loud, okay? So, first email comes to us from Ryan. Hey Max, I'm 38. I started really looking into Asperger's, and it really explains a lot of experiences I've had. Logan's email in the 8th episode, Meltdowns, really resonated with me, and it felt like a letter written by me 18 years ago. I had to pause and have a moment as the memories flooded through me like I was strapped to the TARDIS flying through the time vortex. John, do you get that reference?
Not at all, but
Good.
I know the word vortex and I have heard of the word time, so we're on the way.
Have you heard of Doctor Who?
Yes.
Yeah, apparently, I don't know much about Doctor Who, but apparently TARDIS is this phone booth that travels through time. It's,
Oh,
yeah, I know.
love
It's,
the concept.
yeah, it sounds ridiculous. That's why I never
I
watched it.
actually love the concept of a phone booth.
You love the concept of a phone booth?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Like, cell
Because
phones
it's not
where
there
it's at,
anymore.
John. What?
Because they're not there anymore. They're like history.
Oh, true. Yeah, I suppose like it'd be kind of cool to like it might be one of those things like in the next 20 years where people actually can buy phone booths and just use them as decoration in their house or something.
I'm actually planning to get one of these days and put it in my office and use it like a phone booth.
Oh, nice. Make
Yeah.
some long distance calls, prank somebody in Germany. That's what I'd do with it
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
can't trace it. But yeah, that sounds like a cool idea. Anyways, back to Ryan's email. To say romantic relationships have been a challenge for me would be like saying the Mount St. Helens eruption was an intellectually interesting geological event. Well, I mean, it was, but I get what you're saying. For many years, my dating life consisted of getting ghosted. They just stopped talking slash responding to me after 6 weeks. I eventually said to myself that this is what dating is like. Fork this sushi. I'm gonna do what I like, and those melon farmers can stay over there. What? I got the majority of that, but what's a melon farmer? Don't answer that question. I probably don't want to know. My hyper
Mm.
focus has my my hyper focus has often brought up uncomfortable conversations with my family about getting shut out with my blinders on, but I digress. I decided to take the autism quotient test and scored 42, and I'm weighing whether I should get an official diagnosis. I'm grateful that I've been able to hold down jobs and wondering if a diagnosis would be helpful. At this point, I think that it would just be a piece of paper confirming why I behave the way I do. Though through academic sources and your channel, I think I have enough confirmation to put myself in situations that value my Asperger's superpowers and make my deficits less relevant. My career has been another major frustration for me. Up until now, it's consisted of dead end job after dead end job. I'm going back to school and currently studying to be a software developer, so I feel that things are improving. But is this taking too long to manifest career trajectory? A common story among Aspies. Thank you for doing these videos. Well, thank you for sending in your email, Ryan. I will respond in a second, but my gums are hella uneducated right now, so I gotta take a sip of this water. John, can you just take over for a second, please?
Absolutely. Yeah, we see that a lot, Ryan. With Asperger's folks, it can take a while to develop certain uh, good career type traits. One dead end job after another is frustrating to you, but your essential question is should I get a diagnosis or not? The answer to me would be if you are going to school, then a diagnosis could help you access the kinds of support services that would make the schooling more effective.
Yes.
An awful lot of my clients access services through their post secondary institutions because they have the diagnosis. They can get closer to better kind of support rather than doing it all by themselves. I don't know what country you're in, but each country has its own sort of system, and each province and each state, and actually, in from one post secondary to the next, it differs a little bit as to how much you're supported. But generally speaking, having that piece of paper can give you a kind of right of entry to certain kinds of supports and programs that could assist you in the school. It may not make that work right now, but the school, yes.
Yeah, I gotta really echo what John said right there. As somebody who just recently finished university, having a diagnosis and being able to use that to get the services that I need, it was a lifesaver. I probably wouldn't have made it through university if I didn't have it. Now, granted, don't let that scare you into getting one if you don't feel like you need one, because remember, people that have Asperger's syndrome are on a spectrum, and some people might really need it, and some people might not really need it that much. But if you will require more time to do assignments, if you need a special room, a soundproof room, they'll provide that to you so that way you're not distracted. If you have a preference in regards to working in groups or working on your own, that's something that they can accommodate you with. So yeah, if you're going to school, and I think you said you're going back to school, which implies that you've been to school in the past. If you went to school in the past and you had a hard time, really consider getting a diagnosis. But if you didn't have that hard of a time, then it's really not that big of a deal if you manage to be functioning relatively well. Um, there was something else that he said about relationships. Yeah, we've dealt with that in the
Family stuff.
past. Sorry?
There was an issue with family relationships and conversations. I think the theme of our show is something we can allude to here for Ryan, and that is um, when you have Asperger's or Asperger's like characteristics, you may tend to, speak at times when you should be listening. So you can seek opportunities to at least try to listen a bit more, and that will actually soften relationships in the family issue.
Mm. Yeah, in regards to the whole dating thing, look, I understand your frustration, dude. We discussed it a lot on the show. A lot of people have written in expressing similar frustrations as you have. But you recognize that, with having Asperger's syndrome, there comes certain superpowers. One thing that you got to take into consideration is that, hey, people that are on the spectrum, you can guarantee that they'll be a lot more honest with people. They want to sidestep all the trivial BS that comes along with social interaction. And there'll be people out there that truly, truly value that and see that as rare. And once you come across somebody that does that, you'll be able to stay in a relationship for a long time. I mean, take me for example. I've had terrible luck with women. Uh, Not that it's more so has to do with first impressions in regards to dating. Like I have several female friends and all that, and they see my qualities. But when I actually did get a girlfriend, we were together for over 2 years, and the only reason why we had to separate is because of factors out of our control. So just keep that in mind and try not to completely give up on it entirely. Anyways, thank you so much for sending that in, Ryan. Before we move on, I just got to point out people are making fun of me not getting what a melon farmer is in the chat. I don't know what it is. If somebody wants to message me on Discord, explain to me what that is. Emerald Queen says, "What's everyone's favorite kind of melon?" I mean, I could tell you, but I don't want to get kicked off of YouTube. Let's move on to the next the next email. Enigma Zero. This one comes to us from a guy named Enigma Zero, but for whatever reason, his graphics weren't working when I was trying to bring it up on OBS. So I'm going to read it out loud. Hi, Enigma Zero here with my success story. I was very nearly a nonverbal autistic. When I was very little, about 3, long before I was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, I couldn't speak full sentences. It could only hold 5 words at a time. Whenever I would learn a new word, I'd lose one of the old ones. So 5 words was my maximum capacity at the time. My mother realized this issue and opted to use American Sign Language just to teach me new words so I could communicate some of my needs. I only learned a handful of them, but that process was enough to jumpstart my language center, and from that point, I began learning language the way I should have from the start. Today, I'm a published writer with an excellent vocabulary. While I still often lose words, it's far more manageable today than it used to be, and doesn't negatively affect my life. If anything, losing a word mid-sentence is a minor annoyance, and one that can be circumvented by those who understand my thought process, or where I was going with the sentence or idea, which tends to be often. I'm living proof that early intervention can help, even though back when I was little the concept was unknown. Often, I look back on all this and wonder how different my life would have turned out if my mother had not known ASL, which stands for American Sign Language, and could not or did not try to use it to help me. Would I even be able to communicate at all? It's easy for most people to take language for granted, but it's something I'll always be grateful for having a firm grasp of. Thanks for reading my success story. My hope is that it can be used to give hope to someone out there. Maybe ASL is something that should be explored to help autistics communicate. If words don't seem to stick or work, try another method of communication. You never know what will start the process. And that was the end of his letter. Well, that's fantastic, dude, and sort of hits home a little bit. Not for me personally, but I have a family member of mine who lives overseas, and she has Down syndrome, and she's, you know, the earlier parts of her life she's had, and even to this day she has trouble speaking, but that didn't stop her parents from trying to find ways to help her, you know, communicate with them. And what they did very early on was teach her how to do sign language. And now she's gotten to the point where she can communicate verbally to get across some basic stuff, but she also does sign language. And it's quite charming, too, just to, you know, whenever she does either. So, yeah, what you're saying right there is that even with, if you want to call them disabilities, whatever, it doesn't matter. Even with the traits that you have when you're on the spectrum, the things that might hold you back, you constantly got to find ways to try and not use it as an excuse to not improve, which is something that, you know, with the videos that I do on my channel, people seem to like accusing me of telling other people, which is like, hey, because you have this syndrome, that doesn't mean that you have to improve or do anything, which is absolutely not true. The whole point of doing the show is to make people recognize that, hey, just because you are differently wired doesn't mean that you can't do things. That doesn't mean you can't have a productive life. It doesn't mean you can't live amongst other people in this society. And your story is proof of that. And it's an inspiring story. And I hope people take the strength that they require from that. John?
I think it's a story. I think it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It is very consistent with the kind of thing we're trying to do, and that is give people, okay, the hope that if this is not working that way, try it a different way. And like, you know, leaning back and saying, oh, the world is hard and life is hard and then you die. I mean, so what? Try it a different way. But the whole concept of using American Sign Language, I haven't come across that before, because normally the high functioning ASD folk, Asperger's folk, don't have that kind of issue. But here's a guy who got, wow, way ahead because his very clever mom decided to use this particular way of communicating. And I see a lot of potential there for other people who are facing, or know people who are facing that kind of challenge.
Yeah.
Well, it's a great story.
Yeah, good job, Mom.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, other moms, if you might be listening to this, take note. I'm sure that the majority of you are wonderful. You know what I mean. Anyways, that does it for the mailbag section today. Just so you guys know, I'm going to be halting the show for about 60 seconds in just a moment while we switch over to Discord. But before I do, just want to remind you, hey, 34 likes and 63 of you watching. What the heck? Fix that. Hit that like button. Just do. I don't want to scream like Shia LaBeouf does, you know, when he's in front of the green screen and he's just like, make your dreams come true. Well, make my dreams come true and hit that like button. Anyways, I'm going to switch over to Discord. Just give us 60 seconds, guys. We'll be right back. Here's some wonderful, wonderful Silent Hill music for you. All right, and we're back. See how easy that was? All right. Anyways, John, are you there?
I am here.
All right, perfect. Now let's just introduce the call-in section very quickly for anybody who might not know what it's all about. About. I pronounced that right?
Right.
People have given me crap for being a Canadian. I don't know what's wrong about being a Canadian. I guess it's just pure
Not too
tribalism.
much.
Yeah. pretty awesome. I mean, we got what are we known for? We're known for beavers and gravy covered fries, and the Toronto
And
Raptors.
apologizing for people that bump into it.
Yeah, we say sorry like every second word in our vocabulary, and you know what? We're damn proud of it. So make fun of us for that in the chat if you feel you must. Anyways, call-in segment. So this is how it works, guys. Every single week later on into the show, we like to hear directly from you guys. If you guys want to call in to talk to John and I directly, it's very simple. All you have to do is go to the link in the description box for the Discord server. Once you're there, look at the image that you see on screen right now. All you have to do is scroll down on the left. You see all the names of those text channels there. You got video alerts, server alerts, the lounge. Just scroll to the very bottom and you'll see a text chat that says call in sign up. And all you have to do every single Wednesday, once the new show is announced, you just have to put your name in there and you'll be in the queue to talk to John and I directly. Right now we have 2 people in the queue talking to us. Hold on, let me just move the graphics around. And first up, we have a new caller. His name is Maximus. Maximus, you're unmuted. What's happening, dog?
Call me Ishmael. Hey, how are you? How are you, Max?
I'm good. I don't want to call you
listen,
Moby Dick.
Well, yeah, well, I wouldn't mind. And we can reference the Led Zeppelin song. John, how are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you, Ishmael.
Yeah. Ishmael. That should be my name. Just call me Ishmael. Right on.
I appreciate the reference, especially because Metal Gear Solid 5, like at the very beginning of that game, Big Boss and Venom Snake referred to each other as Ishmael and what was the other guy? Like, oh no, wait, no, it was just the one. It was just Big Boss referred to himself as Ishmael. Anyways, totally obscure reference that nobody here gets, I don't think. John certainly doesn't. You ever played Metal Gear Solid?
I do in the original.
What? Oh, the original. Yeah, I gotcha.
In the Moby Dick story.
Right. My bad. So what do you want to talk about, Maximus? Or Ishmael? I don't know.
Well, first off, thank you for talking with me. I wanted to call you and talk to you because, first off, I wanted to thank you. Max, not John, not yet. But I wanted to thank Max because I was going down the rabbit hole of video game episodes, like all your stuff on Silent Hill and Metal Gear Solid 2, which is phenomenal. And I somehow got to your videos about autism and Asperger's. And at the end of one of your videos, I don't recall the series. I'm sure you can plug it, but I don't remember what it's called. You referenced the autistic spectrum quotient, right? So I could tell a longer story, but I'm trying to get to it. So I took the test and I scored like a 35, right? And I started kind of making the rounds. I'm 30 years old, by the way, and I started making the rounds to all my family. Hey, do I ever look you in the eye? No, never, ever, ever, ever.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah. Okay. Hey, do I ever like talk incessantly and just I can't stop? Yeah, you do. It really.
Hello? Oh, did he just... Something happened. He just fell out of the call. Hold on, I'm going to see if I can try and get him back in here.
Okay.
Ishmael, I bet he saw that damn fish out of the corner of his eye and he just hit the leave button. Sorry, I got to go harpoon that fish. Oh, there he is.
Hello?
What happened, dude?
So I'm like literally huddled in a corner of this house because this is part with good reception.
Oh, okay.
So and I when I start talking, I start walking, and then I lost reception.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna sit here.
John was talking crap about you for that 10 seconds you were gone.
Oh, that's a lie. I love this Cowboy story. It's great.
It's okay. I expect an apology later. So
Sure.
yeah, sorry. So
it's okay. We're
I'm
Canadian,
sorry.
like we said. Go ahead.
Right on. I love Canada. I'd love to visit. But anyway, long story short, I took this test. I scored very high. My wife did not, and I took it again because I was like, nah. And again, I scored even higher. So I began to sort of do this, and you mentioned this. My whole life started flashing before my eyes, right? Like time traveling, and in out of context, all my behaviors, my meltdowns, right? That was a big one. My physical, psychological meltdowns, which I thought was just me being a baby at the age of 28 and hurting myself. You know, I don't even know how people explain that away. I really don't know how they did that. But if you frame it with, well, what if that's Asperger's? What if that's some form of autism? Well, that makes perfect sense. So, in a few weeks, in August, I'm planning on seeing a psychologist or a couple of them, and trying to get evaluated for
Nice.
autism. And apparently,
Ah, it happened again.
This is a great caller. Get him back.
Yeah, I know. He's doing so good. Uh,
Yeah, I love this story and its impact. It's great.
it's so frightening. Just while he's gone, I'm just going to comment on what he was saying. He, what is frightening to me is just with all the people that I've talked to over the last year or so that have autism, and just talking about our life experiences, it's absolutely frightening the congruity that our life experiences have. Like, for example, what he was just saying there about, hitting yourself at the age of 28. Sorry, Maximus, I'm just sort of commenting on what you said while you were gone. Um,
and I wish I had heard you. But yeah, well, I've been hitting myself like that and having these weird meltdowns since I was like as long as I can remember.
mm, yeah.
And people would just say, "Well, that's weird," and including my mom, who's a PA, and um, it was just like, "Oh, that's just you're just depressed."
Mm.
Well, I know depressed people; they don't do that.
No,
No, right. So after watching your video, and I, oh my gosh, it was like like the heavens opened, and this giant piece or potential puzzle piece just kind of lowered from the sky. That's like a missing chapter in a book, right? We're talking Herman Melville, right? Like it's like this, like, hey, chapter chapter 13 is right here, and you didn't even know it, and it provides context for the entire story, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, it does. I
It
mean, if that's what it is, I don't know.
it provides sort of this
Um,
like weightless feeling, like your legs turn to jelly, and you fall to your knees, and you're just so grateful. Like everything makes so much sense now. Like
yes, yeah.
in that exact moment that from that point on your life is going to be so much better because
Well,
everything like you no longer have to feel well. I mean, like at least in that respect, you know what's going on right now, and you realize, okay, all those years that people told me that I was crazy or that I was
right.
undisciplined or that I was a brat, none of that was true, and I have this to back me up. Now I no longer have to
So
feel ashamed.
right, and that starts to bring.
This poor guy. He's
I gotta know what that starts to bring.
sorry. What?
Where he stopped was a very good suspenseful moment, and that starts to bring.
Mm-hmm. And that starts. Yeah, it's like, damn it, we got the audio working for Zoom, and that was doing so well, and then Karma has to come in. Karma, it's not karma. It's just for lack of a better word. Karma has to come in and compensate. Yeah, kicking Maximus out of here when he's telling such a good story.
Zoom kind of sucks sometimes. But it is surprising that this is happening quite a bit. It's fine. Um, anyway, yeah, that's kind of what's going on. Um, and I'm not gonna lie, there is part of a whole. There is a sense of like Oh, thank goodness. Oh gosh, yeah, I found the missing puzzle piece. I obsess over crap. If I lose something, I mean, I'll go to work like 5 hours late trying to find it. I can't leave until I get it, right? Um, like my wedding ring. I lost my wedding ring. I'm not leaving until I find my wedding ring.
Hmm.
It's fine. Just come back. Well, no, 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 no. I'll get it. No, I got it. I got it. I need it. I need my wedding ring. Gotta find it. And right now, people, even my family, some of my family are trying to downplay what I'm talking about. You know. Um,
And they will continue to do that even after you get a diagnosis. They'll probably some of them will dismiss the diagnosis. That won't necessarily change, but you'll
yeah.
know better.
Right. And I kind of already do. I'm like 90% sure this is what's going on or has been going on. And I'm very grateful and blessed to I have a wife who doesn't downplay it and reads the articles with me.
Uh, I think he. Wait, Maximus?
He's
Oh, there he is. Yep, go ahead. Ah, you keep coming in and out.
It's like the story doesn't want to get told.
Yeah. Listen, I'm going to try and not interrupt so that way you can sort of finish up your story, hopefully with minimal Discord interruptions.
Okay, no, I'm sorry.
It's
But
not your fault,
yeah,
dude.
yeah, 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 yeah. So that's where I'm at. That's kind of what's happening. I I have some serious support with my wife, um, who does not downplay this. Um, she is open to really anything at this point, because it makes sense to her too. Like, oh, yeah, yeah. I don't even look my wife in the eye. It makes me really nervous and uncomfortable. Um, and then when I do it, like I force myself to do it, my whole body starts to like clench. It's
Yes.
really strange. Yeah, and the anxiety in my sternum, physically on my sternum, like it just gets like massive. It's like, oh my gosh, like, and I used to think that I was just being weird. Like that's like, oh, that's just me being anxious again. Not even thinking. Well, I was looking at that guy's eyes for a while because like I mentioned, I worked for an NBA team, or I mentioned to you privately.
Yep.
Well, now I just said it out loud. So that part of the whole Ishmael thing is that I'm going through some stuff with my work right now because of mental illness. Go figure. And this is going really really fun. I'm being sarcastic. That's not fun.
Hmm.
So that's a whole different story.
Well, look, dude. It sounds like based on like you're not alone with what you're going through. Like I just said, the basics of what you're saying about finding out what you have, and the clarity that's providing. It's all stuff that I've gone through, and a whole bunch of other people that are listening right now have gone through, and it's really really reassuring to know like every single time that I hear it, that there's somebody else out there that's going through the exact same sort of stuff. And it's especially encouraging to hear that you have your girlfriend, I think you said, no, wait, sorry, your wife, say,
Oh yes, my wife. Don't tell my girlfriend about my wife.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, sorry, that'll,
You have
that'll
a
be,
whole other host of problems.
also, that's why you wanted us to call you Ishmael. Okay.
There you go. There you
All
go.
right. Anyways, yeah, but it's good to hear that you had that support system there. I remember with my last relationship, I definitely had that there, and it was of absolutely enormous value. So please, like, I don't want to say take advantage of it or exploit it, but you know sort of what I mean by that. It's just really cherish it because that level of support, it can go a long way. And listen, like obviously, once you get that diagnosis, and being able to use that as a way to maintain employment and get services on the job, whether it's at your current place of work or if you happen to choose some place in the future, it can be of great help. It's certainly been of help to me. So you're just starting your journey, and just realize that hey, like I said, there are other people here that are going through what you're going through, and there'll be people that are willing to offer you support and advice if you want to talk to them. Like I'm pretty sure you just joined our Discord server. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So make
Yes.
sure you reach out to the people that are there. I mean, I don't know if you notice when you're there, but on the far right side of the window, you'll see a bunch of people's names in green. Those are the people that you want to talk to if you need to talk about whatever problems you're going through, or if you need advice or resources. And of course, you could always come on this show anytime in the future. If you want to send an email or talk to John or I directly, we always love to hear from you because you've been a great guest despite the technical interruptions.
Sure. I'd like to write you a theme song, but yeah, go on.
You'd like to write me a theme song? Like
Oh,
the
straight up. So that's what I do for a living. I'm a music producer for an NBA team. I do that. Yes. So
oh,
I'll totally write you a theme song.
dude, I want my theme song to become like the next angry video game nerd theme song. Do you get that reference?
I did get that. Yeah. Well, we'll talk later. We'll talk. This is something I would like to do. Um, um, uh, I'm sorry. Go on. Go on. I apologize.
No, it's okay. I was pretty much done what I was saying, but the the angry video game nerd. That I can't sing the lyrics to that song because they're profane, but it's brilliant. That's just the image that came to my mind. But yeah, we'll definitely talk about that, dude. Absolutely, I'll commission you for that.
No. That's fine. To me, you've already done me a service, if you will.
Oh, did he drop that again? Yeah, I did. Listen, if he comes back in, oh, there he is, Maximus.
Dropping out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately, because we only have about 10 minutes left in the show, and Planeswalker has been waiting very patiently, we do have to move on. But I want to thank you for coming on. You've been a lot of fun to talk to.
All right. Thanks,
And your
Max.
wife is an angel.
Yes, she is. Yeah, you
Yes,
have no
she
idea.
is.
She is. Yes, she is.
She's an angel.
Yeah, she sounds
Yes, she
awesome.
is.
All right. Thanks so much, dude. Let's move on to Planeswalker, who's been waiting very patiently. Planes, you're unmuted. What's happening, dude?
Hey, not much. How's it going?
Pretty good, dude. How should we refer to you? Should we Planeswalker, like Bombardier, Cessna, Boeing? Well, maybe not so much because they're not going through the best financial stuff right now. Anyways, how should we refer to you?
I guess just Jones.
Jones? Okay. How's it going, Jones?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so funny, like what he was talking about, I actually just got my diagnosis this year.
Nice.
So that whole thing, rushes back in, all that stuff, yeah, totally.
See, what did I say? There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes you like, it just all of a sudden you see all your memories through a new lens and you remember everything and you're like, oh, hey, cool. But yeah, getting the diagnosis is actually, it's a luxury. I understand that, but it's also awesome, as it's something that, it does get you support in the workplace. It does get you support, through the government. It gets you support in general. So it is worth achieving if you can get it.
Yeah, can you like sort of provide for the people that are listening like an example from your life, or would that be going too much to privacy concerns?
No,
Okay.
I mean, like, I got the diagnosis just before getting married because it was one of those things that when I was getting married, I really wanted to know what was going on. But in achieving that diagnosis, it then you begin to realize what is causing you the most distress, and it's like, okay, if an inconsistent schedule is causing you distress, then let's work with the workplace, and with a therapist and a doctor involved, things can get arranged, or whatever it may be, right?
Yeah.
And I'm still in the process of that, but at the same time, it's seemingly smooth. Um, and the other thing, like when it comes to benefits as a whole, uh, I know many people on the spectrum. We are either really good or really bad, or a little bit of both of money.
Mm.
um, so you get a yeah. There's some programs with the government that helps you save for retirement and helps you save, in general, at least in Canada. Um, that are all worth achieving if you can, file for them. If you find the right therapist, like my therapist is actually doing all the work for me, um, which is awesome. Right. So, like, I don't even have to fill out the forms.
Cool. That's good. That's good to hear, dude. Yeah, I certainly empathize with you when it comes to money. Like I rarely ever spend money unless I have to, because I
Yeah.
recognize that I have a very addictive personality. This is why I don't play any games from EA. Because if I did, I'd be like that kid that spent £3,000 on FIFA. What was it? FIFA 2019, all in one day. That's literally how I am. I have an addictive personality, but I was smart enough
Oh
to not
man,
let that control my life.
totally. Like if you ever get into like collectibles or anything and you get inlaid in the game, you're like, uh-oh.
Oh, dude, you just by saying the word collectibles, you brought back so many painful memories. Do you remember these things called Bionicles?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, dude,
I think I had one of every one.
exactly. I was the exact same way. I
They were
had
made by Lego, weren't they?
yeah, by Lego. Yeah, they were awesome.
Yeah.
It
Oh,
was
they were sweet.
yeah. I'm talking about the thing that I was playing with when I was 10, but they were. I don't want to say the S word, but you know what I mean. They were
Yeah.
because like it's just one of those things. One of those not esoteric. What's the word? One of those things that very few people know about, but they could sort of claim for yourself and cherish. You know, kind of like a cult movie, if that makes any
No,
sense.
they had like a comic book, dude. Like
Yeah,
they were sweet.
they were pretty dope. Um, yeah. So, how are things going for you now? I suppose now that you had your diagnosis and
Things are going well. It's still kind of one of those like figuring things out, right? Because I mean, I don't know if that's a scientist to me or whatnot, but you want to find out what's causing these meltdowns, what's causing. So if I'm wearing sunglasses and my noise canceling headphones and I still have a meltdown, what's causing it, right? Sometimes that thought process is also what's causing it.
yeah, it's that's the thing for me too, dude. Like even when I like you said, when I'm wearing my noise canceling headphones, it's just your brain, it won't shut up.
Yeah, so it is what that is, and I mean, since getting the diagnosis, it actually what it does is it provides exactly what the last fellow was talking about. It provides context. So, um, my wife, if she feels upset that I'm spending time by myself at like that specific moment, right?
Hmm.
She can then put it into context, like, no, he actually really loves me. He just needs some recharge time. He can come back and love me more then, or things like that, right? And having open, honest communication, like, um, for all those who have not found a wife yet, they're out there. They love the fact that you're honest. They love the fact that you're loyal.
Mm.
Yeah, and she's a gem, right? So, um, yeah.
You can get them in the mail. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm just, yeah, I'm not speaking from personal experience.
No.
But what you were saying there actually put a image in my head about what you were just saying about your wife and her realizing that, hey, that just because he's on his own, that doesn't mean he doesn't love me. Getting a diagnosis, what that really does, and why I continuously tend to recommend it what it does, imagine that you have a 10,000 piece puzzle in front of you, right? And you could spend months trying to put the whole thing together because it's so huge and so impossible. But getting a diagnosis, what that would sort of do in regards to this puzzle, like this puzzle, imagine you pick up the same puzzle and it's in a box, but when you open it, like every other piece has another piece stuck together. So instead of it being like 10,000 pieces, it's now like 5,000 pieces. Now you have a firm basis to build up off of. Things are no longer in chaos, and there are certain things that you can work within, certain parameters where it's like, okay, I understand this, and I can work around that. Because, like, let's say, for example, you didn't have your diagnosis, and you were on your own, and your wife would be like, oh, why isn't he paying attention to me? Why is he on his own? Does he not love me? and you have to sort of deal with that problem amidst a whole bunch of other problems. But once you have your diagnosis, you can put your attention elsewhere.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm very lucky that our relationship was very much based right off honesty at the beginning before I even knew I was autistic. It was just one of those we would tell each other everything right off the bat so that there's no surprises, right?
Yeah.
And but yeah, it still it does provide context. My parents even like the thing that sealed my diagnosis was probably the fact that my parents were talking about how I played with toys. But yeah, the having that, like, they don't feel like, you know, I'm just off on my own, not trying to talk to them. It's, hey, there's a communication problem here, and you know, there's still a love and respect and relationship there. So
Yeah.
it's definitely helped all around, I think, with understanding. I'm lucky enough to have an amazing family, amazing life, amazing job. Honestly, can't complain.
That's
Other than
great,
the fact of overstimulation, meltdowns, and shutdowns, they happen, right?
Yeah. But at least, you know, the support structure is there so that even though, you know, those things can be dreadful, you can deal with it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's fantastic to hear, and it's so reassuring, like all these positive vibes that we've been getting on the show today. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I've had a very busy week, and as some of you may know, over the past month I've been dealing with a lot. So seeing all this positivity on this show and in the Discord and in my comment sections, it's really sustaining, and I encourage you guys, if you have stories like Jones here or Maximus before him, if you want to share them, please send them in to us for the mailbag section, or talk to us on the call-in section next week. Anyways, we're just about to run out of time, but John, I was just wondering if you had anything to say, since sort of unintentionally push you off to the side there.
No, that's fine. I enjoyed both our callers tonight. Jones, that's great. The support stuff is fabulous, but you have guts and courage, and you are willing to, put the puzzle together. Now that you have some direction to go, you can ignore nonsense and say, "Oh, this is what I'm faced with. Okay, how do I go at this?" So it seems like you've got that, like, spirit of adventure about the whole.
Yeah, I wish I had that. I'm the least curious person out there.
I wish I was born earlier, because then I could have maybe made a discovery, but I don't think I'm that smart now to make the new ones.
Oh,
Yeah,
come
you're
on. There's still the
right.
cure for cancer. You can figure that out. I believe in you.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you so much for coming on, Jones. We'd love to have you on again if you decide to come on, or if you want to. Just let us know.
Maybe.
Okay. Anyways, thank you so much for coming on, dude. I'll talk to you in the Discord in the coming weeks.
Sounds good. Talk to you later.
All right, talk to you later, dude. Anyways, that'll do it for us for this edition of the Differently Wired Show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. Listen, before we sign off for the night, I just want to remind you guys, if you haven't liked this stream, make sure that you do. I know the majority of you have, but in case you haven't, I'm just saying. Before we go, I just want to remind you, if you want to have a question of yours or a story of yours read out on air, it's very, very simple. All you have to do is send it to us to the email that you see on screen right now, maxdart@yahoo.ca. And finally, if you want to support this show, there are two ways that you can do it. One way is financially. There's a PayPal link in the description box below. Everything that you send to us helps. We always put it back towards the show and trying to make sure that it happens for you at a certain quality. That's in the future. Hopefully we can sustain the audio quality for the entire show instead of having to switch over to Discord. We can do it on Zoom, and we can afford to do the longer shows, which you have to pay for when you use Zoom, and we can invite people in, yada, yada, yada. But also, I understand not everybody has the financial means to support us. So if you want to support us non-financially, the absolute best thing that you guys can do is just share the videos that are on this channel. And like as Maximus said earlier on, it really helps even if you don't share one of the autism or mental health related videos. If you share one of my video game videos, just doing that, it might encourage the person to look at other videos on this channel and discover content that they might really need, especially if they're in a dark place, which is, like I just said, Maximus just said that he did when he came across my Metal Gear and Silent Hill videos. So please just take one of my videos, share it around. It helps us more than you might think. Anyways, before I conclude, I just want to thank John, as always, for his insight and his wisdom.
Thank you, Max.
And we hope to do this again. Well, we will do this again. Hope. What am I talking about? We will do this again next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll see you all then. Until then, stay yellow.